Hello, everyone. Happy Wild Card Weekend. We are 25, 30 minutes away from football. Fran, I am jumping out of my skin. Welcome to the PHLY Eagles Playoff Edition pregame show brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Whatever the moment is, find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. And our friends at TrueMark Financial. Visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Fran, I am jumping out of my skin. I've been looking forward to this all week. My vibes are excellent. The Eagles are hosting their first playoff game since the NFC Championship game when they went to the Super Bowl. It's a beautiful day outside. Jalen Hurts is back. Let's start with him. First time we've seen him in, better part of like 22, 23 days. What are you expecting to see from Jalen Hurts right off the bat? Is it imperative for the coaching staff to kind of ease him into this coming off the concussion?
I do think it's really important for the staff to try and make things as simple as possible, have some nice, clearly defined throws. But we've been saying that for the majority of this season, Jamie. We've talked about the slow starts offensively, and that is the one area of this game that does give me a little bit of concern, is this past game going up against this Packers defense. They've been opportunistic all season long, have taken the ball away at a very high rate, and a lot of the things they do from a zone coverage standpoint, that's been a little bit of a bugaboo for Jalen Hurts over the course of this season. That has been what has forced him to hold on to the ball longer than he would like. So that's one thing certainly to watch in this game. What can the Eagles do schematically to help get the ball out of Hurts' hands? We go back to that Pittsburgh game a few weeks back. The ball came out so fast in the first half of that game. That's why I wonder if they'll go into some more of those empty sets, more play action throws, just try to make things a little bit more well-defined for him early on in this football game.
So if you're the Green Bay Packers and I'm making you the defensive coordinator, is your goal to eliminate Saquon Barkley to the best of your ability and try and force Hurts into holding the ball longer, maybe into some of those mistakes and take a chance downfield a little bit? Is that your kind of game plan here, to eliminate Saquon and force Jalen?
Yeah, I think that's what most defensive coordinators have done in the second half of this season, is that they have tried to load the box, put as many guys up near the line of scrimmage as possible, take away Saquon Barkley in the run threat, try and get to second and long, third and long, and that's where you're trying to roll the dice there with Jalen Hurts in this pass game. And again, the big thing that Green Bay does, they play cover two as well as anybody. Cover two deep safeties, 5 guys underneath. You have the 2 corners out on the perimeter along the sidelines. But what they do really well, Jamie, is that they disguise their cover 2. They exchange their cover 2 really well. So, I talk about 2 high safeties. Maybe one of those safeties, instead of it being a safety, it's one of the corners dropping from depth. Maybe it's a linebacker buzzing out to the flat. Mixing and matching those responsibilities and pairing that with pressure looks up on the line of scrimmage. Now Jalen Hurts has to think quickly. Is pressure coming? Is it not? Where's the pressure coming from? Where is it not? Who's playing in the certain spots of the field where now I can attack? That's a lot to try and compute in a very short period of time. And so if you're Jalen Hurts, you have to try and process quickly, eliminate and find your answers versus all of these pressure schemes. That's going to be the big thing that Jalen Hurts has to try and navigate through early on in this football game.
So if you're Kellen Moore, let's flip it there. What is the best way to attack this Packers defense through the air? I know middle of the field is probably there to be had a little bit. The Eagles are, towards the bottom of the league and throwing over the middle of the field. Is that quick slants to A.J.? Is it DeVonta coming underneath? Is Dallas Goedert in store for a big day? How do you kind of see, I don't want to say the target share, but how do you see them attacking the Packers defense?
So one thing that I would do personally, Jamie, is I would really try and lean into figure out ways to spread them out. Because, look, the Eagles are at a talent advantage in this football game. When you look at offensively, defensively, skill talent, trench talent, the Eagles are better in every single position than this team on the whole. So how do you lean into that? That's when you try and dictate one-on-ones. They don't want to play man coverage. They play man coverage at one of the lowest rates in football. So you're not going to force them to play man, but what you can do is force them all to play on islands. Teams have not really gone after this team from empty. Now, that's when Jalen Hurts is in the backfield by himself. That was a tool that the Eagles used in that Pittsburgh game to get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands fast. That is something I would like to see the Eagles do early on in this game. Go empty, and especially if they can do it, Jamie, from 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field, Dallas Goedert, healthy, back for this game. Grant Calcaterra has been a weapon for them. If they can go 12 personnel, the Packers will match in base, spread those guys out, and now you're just picking and matching these matchups here, especially in the middle of the field. That's something certainly I think that the Eagles could lean into in this football game.
Now, the Packers do have a good run defense.
Yes.
One thing I've come to be spoiled by as an Eagles fan and fanalist here is I don't care.
Yep.
We have an offensive line. We have 2 All-Pros. Lane Johnson got robbed, and you know he's going to be playing with his hair on fire today because that man is pissed off, and he has every right to be. I have become so spoiled, I don't care if it's the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rushing defense in the NFL. I believe those boys can make pathways for Saquon Barkley. How do you see the rushing attack going today for the Birds versus a pretty good Packers rush defense?
Look, history has shown over the last few years, Jamie, that when they go up against a top 5 rush defense, that they come to play along the trenches. That the run game is always a big part of what the Eagles are trying to do. And you think back some of these matchups going up against the Bucs, going up against the Saints, going up against some of the other top run defenses, Baltimore this year, Pittsburgh this year. The run game always seems to come out on top. Now, a big part of that has been the quarterback element of the run game, and how willing will the Eagles be to run Jalen Hurts in this game coming off the concussion? That is something certainly to monitor. What will be their willingness to put him in harm's way? Because to me, the Eagles offense in that run game, that is the best version of it, is when they have the QB run element and that threat with number 1 keeping the ball. So that is something also that I will be watching early on with earnest in this football game. If Jalen Hurts can be a factor as a runner, I think that'll go a long way towards an Eagles win.
It seems like tush push is on the table, certainly. I don't know if I'm doing design draws like in between the tackles per se, but it is, a do or die moment. I think the thing I'm most hopeful for today is that Jalen Hurts is smart between the ears. Yep. He's got to help protect himself. He's got to get down when he can. I know you want to fight for those extra yards and 2 here and there, but he's a blue medical tent trip away from this game getting flipped on its head. And I feel like that could happen rather quickly today if he hits the ground kind of hard or anything.
Not that we want to manifest this, but no. The inactives are out, and Kenny Pickett is the number 2 quarterback. Tanner McKee, the emergency number 3. So just getting that out of the way in case there was some ambiguity there. But no, I think that is certainly one big, and what makes this Green Bay defense so good against the run. They're very stout up front. They're not giving up any ground on the interior. They've been one of the best interior run defenses in football this season. And at the second level, they're extremely fast. Edgerrin Cooper, the rookie second-round pick, Quay Walker, a former first-round pick, they're healthy together really for the first time this year. They've played like 100 snaps together on the field. So you get both those guys healthy, that's going to give them a lot of speed at the second level. They've been a really good tackling team. And so if the run game and Saquon Barkley, if they're not at the hitting on all cylinders and the pass game is having concerns, now that's when this becomes a little bit of a tight game, and it comes down to who can make the play last late in the game.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking to Zack Baun down at Lincoln Financial Field in just a minute here. How worry meter, DeVonta, A.J., Jalen, everybody's kind of a little bit nicked up, not 100%. Does that give you any room for concern, or these guys are gamers?
So we'll ask Zack here in a couple minutes. To me, I'm not as worried. To me, if those guys are going to be out there, I'm expecting full-on effort certainly from A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith when we talk about those pass catchers. So to me, this feels like more of a DeVonta game, but we'll get into that. Why I think that a little bit later.
Love it. On the other side of the ball, real quick, before we get to Zack, Green Bay, Josh Jacobs. You know, the big story of the offseason was Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. Kind of free agent running backs are a story of the NFL this year. Josh Jacobs, great, almost 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns. If you're the Eagles defense, what are you doing versus the Green Bay running game to try and force Jordan Love to beat you in a Christian Watson-less world?
Look, you got to come and bring your big boy pants as a tackler today, because all of these backs, including Josh Jacobs, very tough to get to the ground. They've broken tackles at one of the highest rates in football. It is a smash mouth run game. They're going to go right down at you, but also paired with a lot of misdirection, a lot of motion. They put people on the move as well as anybody in the NFL, Green Bay Packers. So I think when you look at this offense with this run game, the Eagles have to stop the run. To me, that's the number one key in this game for Vic Fangio's unit.
Is the key even like first and second down stopping them and not, allowing those third and shorts? Is it early down run stopping? Is that the key?
Yes, that's the key, because the big thing that you want to try and eliminate is 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, because now that's where the motion and the misdirection, the screen game, the RPOs, because the Packers, they run RPOs more than anybody in football. They do the motion that we talked about. If you get into 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, all that stuff is easy. You're picking cherries off the tree in terms of getting first downs. Very easy layup throws for Jordan Love. You get into 3rd and 10, Now that you take all that stuff away, and now it's just straight drop back pass, and it becomes a little bit easier for the defensive line.
All right, this is the PHLY Eagles pregame show brought to you by our friends at Bet365 and TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Julia is our man there. If not, we'll talk about some other stuff, but ZB will be joining us from Lincoln Financial Field. Always important to get the vibe check from Zach.
Yeah,
the lots look lively today on social media. People are fired up.
You mentioned it's a beautiful day outside.
It's kind of perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. So to me, I would expect that the crowd will be rearing to go. That's the other thing too, though. Look, this offense, Green Bay, they've been one of the best run teams in the first half of games this year. We know the slow starts that the Eagles have gotten out to offensively.
Sure.
So if the Packers are able to jump out early, my guess is the Boo Birds will be out to meet them early, so that'll be something certainly to watch.
Yeah, and the temperature is going to drop during this game time too.
Yes.
It's going to be great. We'll get to the super chats after Zach, but let's bring him in. Zach Berman down at Lincoln Financial Field, and maybe also
a twofer,
the two-screener.
Wow,
boys, how's the vibe at Lincoln Financial Field?
I suppose I'll defer to Zach and give you a Vic Fangio view, a little up now.
Yeah, I always come to the back to try to be away from the crowd, to try to get a good visual. And Bo, to his credit, comes right in. He's the star of that shot. I respect it.
How about Julia making this happen? The double box.
Love it. Zach and then Bo, a question for both of you. Any observations from warm-ups here? Anything jump out to you? Any health updates on A.J., DeVonta, Jalen? I know they're all playing and good to go, but what do you take away from the pregame?
Yeah, I'll jump in first here because we actually haven't had a show since Friday when I spoke to Jalen and A.J. And in A.J.'s case, he's dealing with the knee. He acknowledged it. He says that everyone's dealing with something this time of year. He was not going to miss the game. He still feels that sting from last postseason when he did not play. So he said this one's even more significant because of that, because of the way last season ended. With Jalen, said that dealing with the concussion, there were symptoms there that were not fun. He was out of his routine. He did not get cleared until this week. So this wasn't one of the things where the Eagles were slow playing it. He said it wasn't until this week that he was ready to clear the concussion protocol. But they're obviously both healthy enough to play. No injury designations for anyone. The only player who is missing this game because of injury is Trevor Keegan with an illness. He was not going to play anyways. The Eagles elevated Paris Campbell and Kahari Blossom game from the practice squad. So Campbell is in the rotation today, but really they have a healthy roster in terms of everyone being eligible to play. So as far as the lineups, those are the key notes right there.
I just want to say I'm looking at the field, and I want to give some credit to the PHLY Eagles podcast, because we're the only Eagles podcast that matters that's working right now. Because I see Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy on the field.
Not working.
I see Chris Long and Bo Allen on the field.
Green light not happening.
Jason Kelsey on the field.
What are these guys doing?
They're not working. They're not like us.
We're grinders. We're built different, Bo. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask this, Zach. Ear to the grindstone. Go ahead, Bo.
Go ahead. I'm gonna go. Let Zach get a shot. It's fine. Thank you, guys.
It was a great Fangio cam while we had it.
All right. Well, Zach, obviously you've got your ear to the grindstone. You've been you're at the NovaCare complex all week. Any late whispers, any thoughts in terms of how the Eagles offense is going to approach this game? We've talked endlessly about the matchup there with Jalen Hurts in the pass game going up against Jeff Hafley and this defensive scheme. Any thoughts on what their approach is going to be in this football game?
Well, first off, it is par for course that I need Bo to be off air for me to get a word in. So that fits in. Yeah, you asked a good question there, Fran, because I'm coming here with similar type of feeling than I did going into the Cowboys game 2 weeks ago. And what I mean by that is I think the Eagles are going to try to test Green Bay through the air. I understand they have a quarterback coming off concussion. They have two wide receivers who've been banged up this week. And there's going to be a big run the ball sentiment from the crowd. I think when the Eagles look at this matchup, they'll think that, look, Alexander's not out there. Green Bay has had this this mismatched secondary. They've been trying to find different pieces, as Fran discussed earlier in the week. Nixon, who's kind of been a slot earlier, he's been their top corner on the outside. Eric Stokes, who they had high expectations for going into the season, hasn't, he only played 8 snaps last week. I think the Eagles are really going to try to challenge Green Bay. I wouldn't say the middle of the field. I would say on the perimeter. And one thing I would point out there is Green Bay is a heavy zone team. DeVonta Smith's been real productive against zone this year. So I would pay close attention to DeVonta Smith against that Green Bay zone defense.
Zach, the Packers. Oh, look at that. There he is. The Packers have a stout run defense, and one of the things I'm most curious about today, I was just telling Fran, as an Eagles fan, you're kind of spoiled that it doesn't matter sometimes when the other team has a great run defense. The Eagles, because of their line, overcome that. What do you expect today from Saquon in the rushing attack, and do you expect it to be effective?
I do. I mean, the Eagles feel like they can run against anyone, and outside of Cleveland this year, they really have run against anyone. That said, I think there's a difference between being run, and being able to run against anyone. And I think you'll see that. I think they'll come out passing early, try to get a lead, and then you run the ball. You're in control of the offense there. As Fran would point out, these linebackers are really athletic, Cooper and Walker, and you probably want them, not thinking run all the time. And so I do think the Eagles are going to run the ball. They always do. And I think they'll be able to run it. But I still think this is going to be a team that passes the ball more than fans might expect going into this game.
Zach, what's your feeling right now in terms of the Eagles defense going up against Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs? What facet of this Packers offense do you think kept Vic Fangio up latest over the course of this week?
Yeah, obviously the running game there that they have is a big thing. And then the explosive plays. And the Eagles have been the best in the NFL at limiting explosive plays. But the thing to point out about Green Bay with their explosives, because they're second in the league in 50-plus yard passes, it's not necessarily throwing it over the top of your defense all the time. It's the yards after the catch that you have to be cognizant of, especially with Jaden Reed. So I do think that they're going to be obviously stopping Josh Jacobs. Tackling is going to be a big point of emphasis. The Eagles missed 10 tackles in that week 1 game. It was a different point in the season for the Eagles. It was a slippery turf. There were other factors there. The Eagles have improved their tackling quite a bit. But when you talk about explosive plays, you miss a tackle on a 3rd and 8, and it could be a 60-yard gain, right? And shift the game. So I think that block destruction is going to be a big point of emphasis from them. Tackling is going to be a big point of emphasis. Stopping the run and limiting the explosives.
All right, Zach, we're just 7 minutes away here from the game getting underway. What is your vibe / prediction for the game today? Please tell me we're doing another post-game and pregame show next weekend.
Yeah, so Fran and I have been on similar wavelengths here and probably getting a similar sentiment from Eagles fans that, I have a lot of respect for this Packers team. I think the Packers are one of the best teams in the tournament, if you will. And I think that this is a tough draw in the opening round.
Sure.
I think the Eagles are better. I think the Eagles are more talented on both sides of the ball. They're home, but you're still looking at a team that's top 10 in DVOA on offense, top 10 in DVOA on defense, has a quarterback who's won on the road in the postseason before, and has a playoff tested coach. So I think if the Eagles play their game, they should win. But I don't think a middling performance wins this game. I do think the Eagles are going. They can't come out rusty. They can't come out lackluster. Like I said, tackling, limiting explosives, block destruction, all things that are, they fundamentally talk about each week. That's going to be more pronounced this week. So I don't expect this game to be scored in the 30s. I think this is going to be the game flow is going to be more in the 20s. I have the Eagles 24-21. But again, I think this is a really good Packers team. I think it might not be getting the credit or the recognition that they might deserve locally. But you ask people around the league, there is respect for what Green Bay's done this season.
All right, Zach, we'll be live at halftime, and then you're going to join us in the post-game show, a victory post-game show. I'm speaking it into existence. Mr. Berman, we thank you as always.
Absolutely. Appreciate having me on.
See you guys.
See you, Zach.
And Bo. I could hear Julia kind of start to heavy breathe in the producer's room over there when Zach was talking about kind of a little bit of it's respect, obviously, for the Packers. Yeah. And I do agree with them that if both teams play their A game today, there's no scenario where the Eagles lose. If the Eagles dumb it down to like that B- C+ area, I think the Packers can absolutely take a game here.
Yeah, the way I look at it is if these two teams played 10 times on this field, I think the Eagles probably win 7.
Yeah.
I think that more often than not, this team, the way it's constructed against what the Packers are going to be putting on the field today, should beat this team. That said, there are still those other 3 games, and the Eagles need to do is avoid what can take you down that path. And I think there are multiple different outcomes here where the pass game for the Eagles is not super sharp. Maybe Jalen Hurts comes out rusty. Maybe they get out-schemed the way we talked about the cover 2. Maybe he just comes out and, some of the inconsistencies that we saw over the course of the season continue to rear their heads. But the run game, the offensive line, the defense being as effective as it's been for the majority of this season, more often than not, I foresee the Eagles being able to win this football game.
All right, let's get to our best bet segment presented by our friends over at Bet365. Use code PHLY 365 at sign up and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Now, I got to give a lot of credit to Bo here. We'll start with his bets. He's back.
He's back.
Saquon Barkley, longest run over 20.5 yards. Got to lay -115 to get that. I do like that. And then now he's back. Grant Calcaterra, he's back. He makes a big catch, last week or the week before, and Bo's back. Over a half receiving yard.
Basically, he has a catch for 1 yard.
A catch in front of the line of scrimmage. And then, Fran, you're getting involved today. I'll let you explain yours.
Yeah, so, I agree with Zach in terms of the DeVonta Smith. I think this is more of a DeVonta game than an A.J. game. When you look at the splits and you look at the way that Jalen Hurts typically operates as a passer, when he is facing a heavy dose of zone coverage, the ball typically goes to DeVonta Smith. When it's man-to-man, it typically has gone to A.J. Brown. In this game in week 1, the Packers played a little bit more man. You saw a little bit more Jair Alexander one-on-one with A.J. Brown, and A.J. went off. The Packers are playing a far less man coverage than they were at that point in the season. So to me, I feel like this is more of a DeVonta Smith game here in this football game. And the other one, too, is Nakobe Dean, 5.5 tackles. I know it's plus odds. Man, that just whenever he's been healthy, he's been double digits. You look down the stretch, especially in the second half, I feel like the Packers are going to come out and try and run the football. The 5.5 tackles felt like stealing.
Yeah, he could be all over the field today. And then right now they have a super boost on Bet365. I told you, it's never ordinary, people. And that's Saquon Barkley to get over 100 rushing yards, boosted up to plus 140. Too good odds there for me not to take that one. Yep. I do think Saquon has a day because I do think Lane Johnson is pissed the hell off. And look out. And then you guys, see DeVonta. I also see Dallas Goedert getting involved today.
Okay.
I feel like he's been a little bit of a sleeping giant here, obviously coming off the injury. I don't want to say the Packers forgot about him, but I think he's going to show up today, maybe across the middle of the field.
I was very close to taking a Saquon Barkley multi-touchdown, but it was like the odds on it were pretty long, so I almost took it. But I could definitely see what you're saying there with the Saquon rushing yards.
Yeah. All right. So everybody in the chat, let's get a thumbs up for the Birds.
Yes.
Let's get a little hearts action. Let's get some interaction in the chat because we got a game to get to. Fran, what is your prediction going into kickoff?
I'm going to go Eagles 26, Packers 17. I think that the Eagles are. I agree. I think this could be a little bit of a lower scoring game than we're anticipating. But I do think the Eagles cover ultimately in this game.
Yeah, I don't bet unders because they're no fun. But I think this is an under type of game. I think it has that feel to it. I'm not that far off of you guys. I'm going to go Eagles 24, Packers 16. Same kind of ballpark there. I do think the Eagles cover and get it done. I'm fired the hell up. Let's go watch some Eagles football. We're going to be back at halftime. Bo's going to be joining us. And then, of course, in the post-game show, Vinny Curry will be joining the mix. We got some Angelo's Pizza out there.
Steaks.
We're playing like a champion today.
Let's go.
Birds, please do the same out on the field. It's going to be a great one. We'll see you at halftime, and then we'll see you in the post-game show. And, of course, a huge thank you to our friends at Bet365. Where it's never ordinary. Find out why at Bet365. Use code PHLY365. And, of course, our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Find out why it's great to have a credit union in your corner and no better than one rooted right here in the Delaware Valley. Go Birds! See you at halftime.
all city like the mayor.